Hi, I'm Nick Paris here at IX Cameras, and I'm going to take you through the latest update that we've got coming out. One of the things that I want you to do first of all is, if you're going to do this update, you need to ensure you've got the latest calibrator box, and I can show you that here. It's the newer version. The older version had manual switches on it, but this one is USB operated. And so the calibration process is done automatically. So ensure you have one of these before you get started. The next thing I'd like to go through is ensuring you've got the right version of software before you try and get to the latest version. Many customers will have already updated their cameras to the previous version, and so you're good to upgrade to the latest. However, if you've got a much older version, then we need you to upgrade to the previous version and then install this new update. So the way we would do that is we would go to your Control 1 or Control Multi-DAC software, and we would click on Help, About, and then here is your version number. Now if that version number is 21032 or above, then you are good and ready for this next update. If your number is less than that, 21.0.3.2, less than that number, then please contact our technical support team, and they will ensure you get up to the correct version before you install this version of software. So now we know we have the correct software ready for this new install to be installed upon. We need to get you to download the link that's been provided and install the new Control 1 software. And so we'll do that now and then come back with the updated software. Okay, so I've installed the new version of software now. We can check that it's the correct version, that it's correctly installed by again going to the Help menu, clicking About, and we can now see that the version states itself as 21.0.3.5. That shows us that we have the latest software installed on the computer, and that also contains the files that are needed for the camera as well. And so now we can now click OK, and we can turn on our camera unit. We wait for the camera to boot, and then we can then scan for cameras. Okay, so the camera is now booted, and we can now press the Rescan for Cameras button. This now goes out to the network, looks for applicable cameras, and we have found the camera that we are connected to. We can double click on this and then double click to connect to the camera. You can now see that it comes up with your camera needs to be updated. And so we can start the process of updating each part of the camera in turn. It's best that we do this in a sequence. And so let's start with the first item. We're clicking Update Camera. It says that the camera needs to be powered off first. And we say yes to continue. This then loads up the installer, and this is called Update Server 2. The camera now powers down, and then we then set the camera to load the file that's needed. Once the camera is powered off, we simply press Listen and then power the camera back on. So whilst the camera is updating, you can see some updating code in here, and that'll scroll through. Once complete, the camera will then power itself down. Okay, once the camera is switched off, that update has been installed. And so we simply press the X button to get rid of that, and we can now see that we can now click on the next update camera. And so we then again press this, we say listen, and then we power on the camera again. Okay, so that's the power supply update loaded, which is the second update of the list. The important thing to remember here is that we need to ensure we disconnect the power and remove the batteries before we continue. So let's do that now. This particular camera does not have any batteries, but you'll need to disconnect the plate and actually physically remove the batteries. Wait around 10 to 20 seconds and then reinsert your batteries and your power. Okay, so now we're ready to move on to the next stage of the update. Again, we can click X, we click Update Camera on the third one, and we click on Listen, power on the camera. Sometimes during the update process, you may see the red flashing lights, and there's nothing to be concerned with this. It's just the FPGA that's connected to control those lights is being switched off during the update, and so the red lights appear as default. So there's nothing to be concerned. They'll flash and the camera will power off once it's done. Okay, so we've finished that update. The camera's powered off once again, and so we're ready to move on. We click X. We now move on to the next highlighted red update. We click, listen, and then power on the camera. Okay, and that update is now done and the camera's powered itself down. So we can close the box and move on to our next update. We click listen again and start the camera. Okay, so that's that update done. Again, the camera's turned itself off. We just press X. We've only got 2 more updates remaining now, so we again click on the next red item and we click listen and then power on the camera. Okay, that's that update just completed. Again, the camera's turned off, of course. And so we click the X and we have the final update. This is actually going to update several circuit boards within the camera, and so it takes a little bit longer. It takes about 20 minutes. So again, we click on this, we click listen, and we power on the camera. Okay. So that's the final update done now, and the camera once again has powered itself off. So now what we can do is press the X button, and you can see that all of these now are done. So they're no longer red. So what we can do now is simply close this menu, and we can then reconnect to this camera. We first turn the camera on. What we want to do now is ensure we get a good image. And so we now connect a lens to the camera while we're booting. And so the whole process of this update actually requires a calibration, which is why we need the calibrator box. In a moment, once that's booted, we're going to look at the image. We see that we've got an image coming through the camera. That's the main thing. That shows that all of our updates were successful. And then we have to connect our calibrator box in order to enable a calibration to be performed. Okay, so the camera's booted now, and we can now double click on the camera. We connect to that camera, and we can see a live image here in the corner of the software, and then we go to capture. We now see that we have a live image and that the camera updates were successful. Now what we need to do is to now connect the auto calibrator box. So we disconnect the lens, we take the box and we put that on and you rotate round, you'll feel it drop in and then lock into place. We then take the USB lead and we plug it into the back of the camera. This straight away shows you a brighter image. That's because the light inside the calibrator box has automatically switched on. We can now go to the View menu and we can say Show Expert Controls. And now this enables the Recalibrate button in your software here. So we click on that. Once we've got this up, we say simply Start. Now this takes the camera through a process of different levels of black, grey and white for all of its different settings. So some are for gain ×1, gain ×2, and some are for all the other values. If you have a 716 camera, the calibration only has to calibrate for the 716 speeds, so the calibration will be much shorter. If you have a 726 camera, there are many more modes available, and so the calibration will take a little bit longer. And so now we'll let that travel through all of its updates and we'll look once it's finished. Okay, so the actual noise mapper now is complete. At the end of the list here it says Noise Mapper Idle, and that means that the actual camera's completed all of its calibrations, and so we can then simply click on Close. We then disconnect the calibration box and put that to one side. We now attach a lens again, and I've put a scene here in front of the camera, and we can see that the image quality now has been properly calibrated and that we've got good image quality. And that's the update complete. Basically, if you've got a CDU, the next stage is to plug your CDU in and update that. If you do not have a CDU, then this is the complete process finished. Okay, so if we want to upgrade the CDU, we've got the camera connected here so we can bring in our CDU. And what we need to do is go back and we need to just disconnect the camera from the PC software, and we're now ready to connect it back to the CDU. So let's just connect that up. Okay, so now I've connected my CDUE directly to the camera and I can simply run the software. We select the Ethernet just like normal. We select the camera and then connect. You can see that the CDU has found an update for itself, and we can select Update. What then happens is we're given a list and we make sure we select the latest update in the list. I've selected here 173884. Now we click Apply. And so this says it will update to a new version. We click OK. And this shows the progress bar continuing on. That's now been updated, so we can click OK and then Start CDUE. We then click Yes, and now the CDUE new software starts. You can see now we've got some new configuration things here with networking, etc. But again, we can simply hit Ethernet and connect to the camera. You are now running a new version of the CDUE. And that completes your update. Thank you.